Welcome to the Kent Lapp Podcast.
What sounded like the faster pace of, did you say Congress after Trump?
Yeah.
Was that because of Trump? What made that happen?
I think part of it's Trump. I mean, I wouldn't put it all on him. I think he and the media have this symbiotic relationship that was true since day one, since he rode down that escalator, and so they kind of feed off each other, right? And so I understood real quickly that when everything, the news cycle, all of a sudden became dominated by the Twitter cycle. I was like, this is going to be exhausting. And with the Obama administration, whatever you say about the Obama administration or our political problems at the time, that pace of constant bickering back and forth at the political level just wasn't there. Part of it may have been Obama wasn't on Twitter like President Trump is. That was still an era in which presidential access to handheld devices was more secure and limited.
It's true, yeah.
It wasn't. I think they were. I mean, clearly the White House used Twitter. I'm sure Obama had an account, but it was far more. It wasn't as personality driven. I think. I'm happy to be corrected on somebody who. has more recall, but that was my sense of things. And so when you get yourself into an era where everything's about the Twitter cycle, and then it's like perpetual news reports about who said what on Twitter, and then who argued back on Twitter, and it's just constant. And then you have someone who, like a president, who feeds on that and contributes to it and fans the flames on that, and then you have a media who wants to, doesn't thinks if they ignore it that they're being silent in the face of injustice on every single tweet, right?
Sure.
So argument that silence communicates approval or something like that.
Yeah.
It's true in some cases, but as a parent, you also know sometimes you just have to ignore bad behavior.
Right.
That's the one thing the media has not tried to do is ignore. Bad
well, why would they?
Behavior. Right.
Why would they? Ignoring it doesn't sell.
So, all to say, I just think a lot of it has less to do with kind of the partisan politics and the content of it.
Oh, okay.
And more the communication battle that's constantly brewing. I mean, I can talk politics all day long, but I think that was an element that was new. That really changed the game, because now everybody has to be on all the time, and you have to see what the president said and all that kind of stuff. And so, like, I stopped following that kind of stuff pretty early on.
Okay. Pretty early on after Trump's presidency?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
By following that, you just mean you would follow different Twitter accounts, or you would try less to keep up with it all? Focus on what's important, let the noise just kind of be noise?
Yeah, you have to try to identify noise as noise.
Yeah.
And because at the end of the day, particularly as advocates, you have a job to do, which is to represent your constituency and advance the ball in some way. That might be on Capitol Hill, that might be with a federal agency, that might be with the White House. But at the end of the day, we're there to advance some kind of policy agenda. And the noise of the Twitterverse and the media and all that kind of stuff, that can take away from doing that particular job.
I totally believe that. Do you see then the news driving policy or actually legislation then? Or is it just news? It's a whole bunch of noise. The American populace gets all excited about a whole bunch of things, but it doesn't really drive government? Or are you actually seeing when all of this happens, everyone gets such in a frenzy, it actually starts to drive policy and drives government?
I don't think it's certainly not driving it in a productive way. I think the pros who want to get policy across the finish line and get stuff done, they know how to step into that noise, those noise channels, and play it so that you get the right voices at the right times, rowing in the right direction. You can do that. The clearest example is the I'm blanking on it's the criminal justice reform package. I think it was the First Step Act. I'm sorry, I used to have this stuff committed to memory, but I'm a little rusty. That was, bipartisan legislation. It's not as great as it could have been, but it got some reform packages done and across the desk of the president, whose constituency we presume, and by a lot of his reputation in that White House, wouldn't be so predisposed to reforming the criminal justice system. But a lot of people who were smart worked a lot of hours for a lot of months building relationships quietly behind the scenes, not getting sucked into the Twitter media battles. And if you do that right, then you can get some actual policy across the finish line. So I don't see it driving that way, but it can be used so that when you finally get some pressure building in the right direction and you have consensus on policy issues, part of it's building consensus behind the scenes first. So you get Republicans and Democrats and the right Republicans and the right Democrats on some consensus issues, you can get some stuff done. But, the media cycle can blow stuff up too. The good example for that was the last attempt at an immigration compromise. And you had, certainly the 3 times the Republicans tried to reform the health care. You remember those days? It seems like forever ago.
Yeah, it does.
But there was a concerted effort. We were involved in trying to contribute what Southern Baptists thought on immigration issues, which we'd done for over a decade, since I was with Southern Baptists, dating back to at least 2006 or 2007. And it got that bill got the closest any of those what used to be called comprehensive immigration reforms. This was not it, but it was like something for both sides. Got the highest number of Senate votes it had gotten. Something like it had gotten at least to maybe 58. Again, it needed 60. But then you had former Senate staffers who are in frankly, anti-immigrant think tanks in D.C. calling their former bosses, peeling them off of legislation, and even it was a chaotic day. But there were basically 3 different bills that were being considered, and you didn't know the night before exactly what was going to be in each one of them. But when they were released, we kind of, as policy nerds and wonks, were like, oh, these are all designed to fail. It's designed to play to their bases, say we tried, but that because this camp is so far right that it's not going to get enough Democrats to vote on it. So that's designed to fail. It has the appearance of participating and deliberating. The Democrats have one that's so far left that it's not going to bring enough Republicans to the table. And if you're not serious about that, then it's not worth doing. And then the one in the middle got really close. But there was then that's a situation where the news cycle and the Twitter cycle, everything kind of blows up and people start getting scared of it publicly, the senators and
start getting scared of that one in the middle.
They start getting scared of being on the record, frankly, particularly if it's approaching an election year. This is part of the problem with our state of governance right now, because you have the body who's supposed to be deliberating and deciding and making law, scared of making law. And so
because of
they want to get reelected.
Yeah, it's not great.
No, it's not great. And so everybody throws their hands up when you get Supreme Court rulings that people don't like, and you're governing from the bench. It's like, well, if the legislative body would do the legislation and do it precisely, even given that you want to get reelected, that would solve a lot of issues. But part of the reason you have such a powerful presidency and the reason you have such a powerful court is that Congress refuses to do its job. A lot of people in Congress view Congress not as a legislator, but as a platform. So that feeds into the communication, Twitter, news cycle thing.
Yeah, I see.
Right. So it's a way to running for Congress helps elevate your profile. Maybe you want to run for president. Maybe you want to be president of a university. Maybe you want to. It's a resume builder instead of a worthy job.
Wow.
In and of itself.
Wow. So kudos to our governmental system, though, the way it's all structured and set up, that we can have people with these types of motivations and still have a somewhat functioning government.
Right.
I mean, my goodness,
Right.
if this thing wasn't set up properly, it'd be a mess. It'd be over, right?
The balance of powers is a really brilliant thing, and frankly, underrated, and we don't talk about it a lot.
Yeah.
The voting and representative government, that's a big part of it, but the balance of powers is really the thing that sets everything apart.
Yeah, because, man, it sounds like a lot of these motivations are just so far from trying to do what's right for the American people. It's just not...
It is.
Yeah, you need that balance of power.
Yeah.
You did mention the Trump's relationship with the news. What is that? Because he's always had that thing with the news, and he positions it like they hate him and he hates them. But is he using them? Like,
Sure.
is that just a positioning?
Yeah.
But really, what's going on is he's just playing them, or they're playing him. What is that relationship with Trump? And the news?
I think it's a, to use my word earlier, symbiotic. I think they both use each other, and I think he clearly uses it strategically, right? I mean, he was a reality TV star, right, before the presidency. That's how we know him, and so even before running for president, that was his persona. Whatever you think of his politics or anything like that, the fact is, he's playing a different game than we've seen in American presidential politics, and I think that playing off the media is clearly a mode that we haven't seen a president use in a long time. So I think he clearly uses that, whether it's to his advantage or disadvantage all the time. He knows that that's a thing, and I think the media broadly speaking. And again, I say this knowing a lot of great reporters. My critique of Congress includes knowing a lot of great members of Congress who actually do want to get stuff done and actually do want to legislate and make better laws and compromise in the positive sense of the term. But I think, the media, here's a good example. When the media kind of took on the anti-Trump position early, even before he was elected, if you go way back to 2017, there was a moment. A good example was when the media flipped their lids over the appointment of Justice Gorsuch to the Supreme Court. It was #resistance that early. There had been a vacancy that Mitch McConnell had kept open during the Obama administration. Everybody was aggravated about that Obama didn't get to make that appointment, and so you saw just the resistance stuff go full on, turn it up to 11 for Gorsuch, who, by all accounts, is a sane, credible judge. Fast forward a few months, and President Trump fires FBI Director Comey. That, regardless of your politics, should be concerning when the President of the United States fires an FBI director. Especially when it's associated with an investigation into his own administration. Right. That should set people's hair on fire.
Yeah.
But the media and the #resistance had already turned the volume up to 11 on something that was entirely credible, like Gorsuch. And so by the time people they're flaming Trump for Comey, it's all people don't hear it because it's been noise the whole time.
Yes.
And so why would you expect, even hesitant Trump supporters, why would you expect people to give the Comey coverage the seriousness it deserved when you went ballistic over Gorsuch?